Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 10 of the Couch Co-op podcast. I'm joined by
And
Cal, as always, and we have a very special guest today, Miss Allie. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right today.
All right. How about you, Cal?
I'm great. I am ready for a good, exciting episode 10.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, jam-packed as always. But yeah. So the reason why I wanted to bring Allie on is because I had talked about the best job ever previously on the show. I can tell you feel the same way. So
Yeah.
yeah. Uh, I just want to hear what you thought about working at the Best Western Hotel. Just kind of summed up.
Well, I don't know how long you were there after I had left. I know I was there for a couple months before you had joined.
Hmm.
And in the whole time that I was there, it was really good as long as you were kissing ass to the manager. Like,
Yeah.
her ass, you were on her good side and she loved you. You could do no wrong.
Hmm.
But the moment you said anything to contradict her or be against how she wanted things to be,
Hmm.
it was an issue.
Yeah.
So on the register with checking people in, I had found some shortcuts and made it easier for us at the front.
Hmm.
And she flipped out on me that I was doing everything wrong.
Really.
Even though what she showed me was just a longer process of getting done what I had already done.
Hmm.
So that's just it was. And then another thing with her was that she liked to talk shit about all of the employees behind their backs to other employees.
Oh yeah.
But then to your face, she would tell you how you're doing such a great job.
Hmm. I remember there was one time you were out one day and it was like one of my last days there, I'm pretty sure. There was like me and like two other people and they had ordered Chipotle and the person that you're talking about was complaining about how there was ice cream left in the fridge and how you left it there and that it's like it's taking up too much space and this and that and yeah, I know what you mean.
My little cup that I would always get,
Yeah.
even though her other manager would get three of them a day.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Cal, this my trainer would go to Dairy Queen like 3 times a day and get a Blizzard.
Or McDonald's.
Yeah.
You got to. You got to get through that workday.
Mm-hmm.
It
Definitely.
was just not all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So how long did you two work together then?
Oh, 2 months
Um,
max.
Not very long. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't stay there very long. My last straw was my son. He has a lot of asthma issues, and
Hmm.
he ended up in the hospital with a really bad asthma attack. And at the time, I was a single mom. My kid's father passed away when I was pregnant with my youngest.
Okay.
So I'm the only parent that can be there with him. And the other manager of the housekeeping had texted me flipping out on me because I had called out of work the next day. And I'm like, what do you expect me to do? My kid's in the freaking hospital.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
and after that, I was like, you know what? I'm done. I was like, my kids come first. And at the end of the day, that's how it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my last straw was far less I guess important than that. She they wouldn't let me have vacation time for my dad's wedding, so like that's when I quit. You know, I put in my 2 weeks like somewhat before I left and then yeah, that was that. I just didn't come back. So I'm
Yeah.
glad I didn't. That was first and worst job ever for me.
Yeah. That it was something else. I had already put in my 2 weeks before this situation had happened with my son
Hmm.
because I had found a job working with special needs kids, which is where my specialty is for like what I'm going to school for. And whenever I left her my resignation letter, she didn't talk to me for 3 days. Not one word whatsoever.
Hmm.
And it was finally when I had to go to her and be like, "Did you get my letter?" And she was like, "Yep, I don't want to talk about it." I'm like, as long as you got it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't remember his name, but Mr. Clean, the maintenance guy. After I told him that I wouldn't be working with him anymore, you know, because like the first hour of the day or whatever, I would be doing stuff with him. And after I told him like, no, I can't survive in this heat. I just moved here. I ain't doing it. He didn't speak for me. He didn't speak to me for the entire time left that I was there. He just like kind of glared at me sometimes, and that was it.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I remember I used to get like the Mr. Clean little sponges and I
Hmm.
would cut out the Mr. Clean emblem and I would tape it to his name tag before he'd come into work.
Really?
His name tag was a Mr. Clean
Uh-huh.
picture.
Nice.
Did he look like Mr. Clean?
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
Bald head, white jumpsuit.
Yep. Blue our uniform, but he had the bald head and I used to
Okay.
walk up rag and act like I was gonna shine it for him. He always laughed. He had fun with it. So I was like, okay, I'm good.
Hmm.
Just don't tell him it's too hot outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that job was a mess. And like when I was doing that stuff for him in the morning, he would show me how to like clean the pool. And when he was first showing me, he's like, "Yeah, I've been like waiting for someone like you to come in so that the so that the women in the front won't do it because they always mess it up." And I'm like, "Whatever you say, man. All right."
I was told never to mess with the pool, so I never did.
Yeah.
So Riley has told me some horrifying experiences working there. Do you have any you'd care to share with us? Like, what is the worst thing you saw while working there?
I mean, I had to chase out a couple of drug users that would be sitting on the stairs,
Mhm.
just out in the middle of the open, just shooting up right there.
Really?
Yeah. We had some homeless people that would sleep under the stairs. I think the worst thing that I had to see would have to be when we had the one family that came in with like 3 or 4 dogs and they weren't supposed to have the dogs in there. So when we
Hmm.
found out and went to kick them out of the room, they completely trashed it. And by the time we got in there, we had to close that room out for I think it was like a month almost, wasn't it?
It was closed when I left. It was closed for a while.
It was still closed
Still
when you
closed.
left.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
so
so.
out quite a while. I mean, there was feces and urine all over, and then they just threw trash and food, and it was terrible.
And it smelled like pot.
Yeah,
I remember that very distinctly. Yeah, that room was a mess. It's funny that you mentioned throwing out homeless people because I have showed pictures on here before of like suitcases and different belongings that people have had that were left under those stairs and that I had to
yep,
throw away in the dumpsters. I never knew who had them, but that might just be that. You may
yep.
have answered my question.
I mean, it was trippy, like, and it was scary because we would have at the front desk when you were working the night shift or even the overnight shift, you had to do rounds around the hotel.
Hmm.
It was an open hotel. It wasn't enclosed or anything like that. And in the area that it was a sketchy part of Mesa.
Yeah.
So some of the things that like you would hear or see going on, you're like, all right, I'm going back in. I didn't see anything.
Hmm.
But there was actually one time, I can't remember. I had worked a closing shift and then I'd worked the opening shift the next morning. And I had just got to work for the opening shift. And I had remembered being checking someone out and feeling my phone going off like over and over and over and over and over through the whole time I was working with that customer. So as soon as they walked out, I went to the back, like by the office, and I looked at my phone. Come to find out, someone had called my grandma at like 4 in the morning
Hmm.
with a female in the background screaming, help me, they've kidnapped me. and they told my grandma that they had kidnapped me by name, and like they were trying to get like a ransom in this whole situation. And it wasn't until my godmother had taken the phone and was on the phone saying, it's me. And I kept saying, Grandma. And that's what, like, because I call her Nina. So when she was like, that's kind of what clicked in my head of like, this isn't the right person. But that was a trippy experience. Like, to think that somehow, I don't know if they knew I was working the job I was working, or if it was like just a random thing. But the fact that I had worked a closing shift that night and then been at work that morning, my family was like flipping out that I had saw something happen the night before and had got grabbed while I was at work or leaving work or something like that.
I don't know what to say
Yeah.
to that.
That's terrifying. Yeah. Wow.
Like, that was a trippy experience to like not go through, but go through at the same time, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow.
That's just nuts.
Especially in the hotel industry, because you hear so much about hotels and trafficking and that kind of stuff going on in that.
Mm-hmm. That was like the first thing that told me, like, yeah, if you see some like little kids that look out of place, just keep both eyes open.
And vicious, like, that was a big thing that they trained us on whenever working at the hotel was trafficking.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with where we were, like, we did get some people that it was kind of like you're giving them the side eye, like, are you or are you not?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I didn't have any experiences like that where I worked. I had just I worked in a senior center. Worked the night shift, and I saw some terrible things, but nothing like that. Terrible in a different way.
Working at the hotel, a trippy experience.
Mm. Yeah, I can't imagine. Just I feel like you would always, especially, did you work night?
I
Night
worked
shift?
both.
Both, yeah. I feel like in that industry you always have to be watching your back, and I feel like it's something you can't do long term. Like, I feel like you would be too messed up in the head doing it for so long.
Well, even whenever I was working, I had a lot of guests that would be checking in and they would try and tell me, oh, come to the hotel room whenever you're off of work, or what's your number? Let's go do something when you get off of work. Or I actually ran into one guest at the bar one time. And I was like trying to duck and hide, but he was like almost 7 foot tall.
Wow.
And he saw me through the crowd and like walked right over to me, and I was like, crap.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And then he visited another time and went to that same bar and was wanting me to meet him at the bar. And I'm like, no, I got to get home. I got stuff to do. And the next morning, he had came back to the front and told me about how he had got kicked out of the bar for getting in some big bar fight or something at that night.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely meet some interesting people working at a hotel. That's one thing I definitely learned.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Is that the one that stands out to you then for a more, I don't know, interesting individual that you've, I guess, met at a hotel? Because the one that comes to mind, and it's the lady who trained me. I'm not gonna say her name, but she told me a little too much sometimes, especially on our last days working together, because it was just me and her doing rooms on my last day. So I effectively spent like the whole day learning about her life story and her family who's in prison, and her other family hates her, and all this stuff, and just
Yeah.
telling me way too much. And then one day, actually, after I had quit the job, I was driving from where I was living at the time, and I was going toward the hotel, and I was like, just like stopped like in the street in traffic, and then I can see her driving by like in the opposite direction, and she is just screaming at the top of her lungs. Her face is bright red, and the two people in the back of the car are like looking at each other, not knowing what to say, and then they drive off. That's the last I ever saw her.
Lord.
Yeah.
She definitely was a very open and interesting person.
Hmm. She also claimed that one of the guy housekeepers that left tried to get in bed with her at some point. I have no idea if that's true, but that's what she told me. She's like, yeah. Before he left, he was trying to like hit on me and all this stuff, and yeah. But I I never trusted anything that she really said, to be honest, because even though she was my trainer, I used these fingers for a purpose because I was barely trained by her. I was trained by the guy that I'm talking about, actually, mostly. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how truthful that is.
Hmm.
I mean, I can say that most of the employees that we got while I was there was like around our age, being about half of her age.
Yeah.
So as far as the truth to that, I don't know. Not that I ever heard.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. That just seems like such a yeah, something I don't feel like you could do it for a long amount of time and be right in the head after like looking over your shoulder for that long.
No.
No.
Because my one of my good friends growing up, I haven't talked to him in quite a while, but he also worked at a hotel a few years back, and he would tell me stories, and he'd be like, "Yep, had to call the cops, had to there was a drug bust the other night. Oh, a guy pulled a gun on me the other night. This guy had a knife, and it was just like story after story. I'm just like, how do you go to work every night and just expect? Because that's what he said. He's like, I just expect it because we live in a pretty or where the hotel is rather is a pretty bad part of town. And yeah, I just like, how do you do that every night and just wonder what is going to happen the next night? And you have
Yeah.
to go in, you have to go kick people out that are breaking the rules and smoking and almost burn the place down. And, it just every night it's another thing.
We had one customer, their church leader. There was some bad situation going on at home. They were a young couple, and their church leader had helped them with getting a hotel room for a couple of nights to kind of figure things out and see where they were going from there.
Hmm.
And when they left, the entire room reeked like marijuana. Like it was so strong. And so when their, I can't remember if it was a pastor or a preacher or what it was, but when he called back to ask why he had these additional charges for the smoke, having to smoke the room and get that smell out,
Hmm.
we had to explain to him, like, these people, it smells like pot in here. Like, we have to get the smell out. And he's like, no, that can't be right. And I'm like, it is. I don't know what else to tell you. We've had like four people go and check it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I don't, it seems like a crazy industry to be in, but it sounds like you're happier now where you're at.
Right now, I'm a stay-at-home mom, full-time student.
And are you studying education,
I'm studying psychology.
psychology? Oh,
Mhm. So
wow.
my goal is to either do clinical or developmental psychology. So either way, I'll be working with kids though.
Awesome. That sounds so fun.
Nice.
Keep me busy
Hmm.
having six of 5 4-year-olds.
Yeah, I bet. Um, so are you, what do you like to do for fun? Like Riley and I, we both are, we kind of have similar backgrounds. We kind of play games and VS and stuff, but what about yourself?
Me, I like to ride motorcycles.
Okay.
I have a new 2023 CF Moto 650 that
Okay.
I got for Mother's Day. So that's been kind of my new thing to do. Other than that, going fishing, hiking, quads, a lot of outdoor stuff. So school takes up a lot of my time, so I don't get to do a whole lot of it a lot. but whenever I do get the chance, me and the kids are always trying to go out.
That's awesome. I grew up on dirt bikes. Me and my brother had a 450 that we would ride.
Okay.
Yeah.
We just got my son a 50cc.
Ah, nice.
Now we have to clean the carbs and get it running. But
Mhm.
now that he's riding a bike, we're gonna try and start transitioning him onto the little dirt bike.
Best way to grow up. That is
Yeah.
the best. That's
Or
that's exactly what me and my brother had was a 50. So
yeah, he's only 5, so he just turned 5 in May. So it's a nice little starter bike for him.
yeah.
And then we go out shooting. My daughter has a little, I think it's called a Daisy.
Mm-hmm.
Little.
22.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So she has a blast with that.
That's
So we do
awesome.
stuff outdoors. We live in the middle of the desert though, so it takes us about 5 minutes, and it's nothing but dirt road forever.
That's all right. That sounds nice.
It's nice. It's a really small town. We're really close with all of our neighbors and our church, and we're I want to say we're the youngest couple in town, and we're the youngest family. A lot of the people out here are in their 50s and up, and most of them are retired.
Yeah.
Real quiet town, but it's nice to raise a family, and the kids get to play outside all day. I don't have to worry about Joe Bob down the road and someone coming and kidnapping my kids or anything off the street.
Yeah, that actually brings up an experience I just had this week. So 4th of July, there was a parade, and myself, my wife, and we have 3 kids, and our middle boy, he's 4, and the two oldest kids, the boys, they were out on the street, kind of just gathering up candy and stuff, and we were stepped back a little bit because we didn't want to get in the way of the candy gathering. And it's insane how fast, and you don't think about it, and or at least I never did until you're put in that situation, how fast a kid can go missing.
Oh yeah.
So our middle child, and we were 15 feet away, we weren't even that far away, and I look at my wife and I'm like, where is he? And she's like, he's right there. And I'm like, and we don't live in like a very large town, but there's probably 3,000 people at the parade. There's quite a few people.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, all right, I'm start looking. And there's a certain point, and I don't know, hopefully you've never had this experience, but there's a certain point where you're just like,
Your heart just drops.
shit. Like, you're like, oh no. Like, I'm never going to see this kid again. And, I think there's a lot of terrifying things that happen, but for me, like, that was the most terrifying thing that could have happened, that has happened to me in my life, because there was about 20 minutes where we could not find him.
Oh, yeah.
And it just, your heart sinks, and you just are like, how did this happen? Like, what? Like, I'm such a bad parent. Like, how did I let him just disappear? And like you said, you don't know about Joe Bob down the street or Joe Bob next to you. And there was some pretty sketchy guys behind us that we don't know. We could kind of see them there, but we didn't know what they were doing. We just thought they were watching the parade, but we're like, did those guys take him? Like, where did he go? And so I just start walking, and and my wife went the other way and I went one way, and I ended up finding him, and some nice people had stopped him, and they were asking him where his family was, and he's not old enough to know like phone numbers, and he knows his name but he doesn't know our names, probably well enough to tell somebody. But anyway, luckily there was a lady that I was walking by, and she could probably tell because I'm sure I was white as a ghost. I'm sure I was scared.
You have
Like,
that look.
are you missing your child? And I'm like, yeah, how could you tell? And she's like, is that him over there? And I'm like, yeah, that's him. So happy ending, but legit nothing else. I've never felt like that in my entire life.
That happened to me when, gosh, I just had my son. So it was the summer of 2018, right before school started. My family, it was me and my kids, and then my parents and my brother and sister. And we went to Arizona Mills Mall for back to school shopping for my sister. She was getting ready to go back into high school. So she wanted me to go shopping with her. And we're inside of the Ross, and it was completely jam packed. Like, you're shoulder to shoulder with people. There's people everywhere. You can't see in front of you. It was crazy. It was like a wild animal just going crazy in there. So I couldn't get my double stroller with the kids in between the aisles to look at the clothes with my sister. So I had left both of the kids with my dad in between the aisles. And I didn't realize that my daughter, she wasn't buckled into her seat, and it was a sit and stand stroller, so she could actually stand up on it. Well, next thing I knew, I had my brother walking up to me, and he's like, "You need to help us find her." And I'm like, "What do you mean I need to find her? She was with dad. Like, where's my kid?" And I just see my mom walking down the aisles and like my dad going the opposite way. And I'm like, deer in headlights, like, what's happening right now? And thankfully, someone was like, "Are you looking for a little girl wearing this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's her." And they were like, "Oh, she went towards the back." And my mom just happened to be back there.
Mm.
And like right in that moment, she had found her. But yeah, that moment, that's definitely whenever I started being like, all right, child leashes are my friend. For a walking child, that is my friend.
Yeah, and it seems like I think people laugh about it, but it's so true. Like you've got to keep them on a leash.
You don't think about it until that happens to you, where you're like, yeah, maybe that's not such a bad idea.
Hmm. Yeah, my older son, he's been on me for a while. Because he wants his friends have a, I don't know if it's an I don't know what it is, but it's like he calls it a calling watch, but he can communicate with his mom and dad through it. I know there's a bunch of different ones. There's some kid friendly ones, but after that, because I've always wanted to do it, but it's kind of expensive. But
Yeah.
after that, I was like, that's it. We've got to do something, like, because I don't ever, you never want to feel like that again. Like your kid is just gone.
Yeah, ever since that, I mean, even my daughter, my oldest, she started kindergarten this last year, and I put an Apple AirTag in her backpack.
Yeah, yeah.
And whenever she went on a field trip, I would find like in her clothing where I could put it like on the inside so it was invisible, like people couldn't see it. So that way, like, God forbid someone did take her,
Hmm.
it was on the inside and they didn't see it to be able to take it off
Yeah,
and track her.
that's a good
But I
idea.
a second one to put in my son's backpack, who's starting this year.
That's a good idea. Yeah, you never know. It's
No,
crazy. It's a crazy world.
hey, it's just getting worse with that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Well, I don't have any kids, but
that's
what
good.
I, what I can
But
say as a former child, so I saw this movie. It's called The Sound of Freedom. It's about child trafficking and all that sort of stuff, and that really opened my eyes to it. Before that, it kind of sounded like a QAnon far right conspiracy theory thing. Um, it it's always hard to tell with these sorts of things because there's so much information, there's so much like media fear mongering. I can never really tell what's true, but of course I do know that child trafficking is a true thing, and that was real. Oh, fuck's sake, my stutter's really bad today. Uh, I know that the movie really painted it in like a great way. I think in terms of like the storytelling, it wasn't great, but I can somewhat get what you guys are saying because of that, because it's telling a story about kids being stolen. I don't know.
well, it's like I was telling you earlier, Riley. Like I've been watching a lot of the shows of like where they stop the predators, where they set up the fake online profiles and they do those sting operations where they catch these people. And it's like to think of like that stuff's actually true.
Hmm.
We, you know, I as a female, whenever I was a kid, I had my family, they do jockey racing. They raise quarter horses to do racing at casinos and stuff. And one of their jockeys, who was probably in his late 30s, early 40s, and I was 15, 16 at the time, he had actually messaged me on Facebook and was grooming me. And I didn't think anything of it until my family had found out that he was messaging me. And then that's when like my parents like sat me down and were like, you realize like this kind of stuff happens.
Hmm.
Like it's not just some bullshit story we're telling you. And that's when like I started to do my own research into sex trafficking and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh crap. Yeah, that's actually pretty predominant in the world.
Hmm.
Like with how, especially in Arizona, how close we are to the border. It's happening so often. It's right around the corner from us, really.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a similar experience to that where I didn't know it was wrong when I was like a little kid, and then I just like told my parents out of the blue, yeah, this. So when I was in maybe like kindergarten or first or second grade, somewhere around there, this kid who I thought was a friend of mine, he started like doing things to me on the school bus, and I didn't know that it was wrong at the time. And then like years go by, and just out of the blue, I'm like to my parents, "Yo, did you know that this guy did this to me?" And they're like, "What?" And then they're like frantically calling the kid's parents, trying to get me out of his class at school. And I'm like, "Wait, what's going on here?" And then they sit me down and have the talk. It was a really weird weird experience.
Yeah, and I mean, as a parent, even you try to instill that in your kids, like you don't let anyone touch those areas. That's your private areas. It's only for, mom and dad if they're helping you with something or the doctor if they're checking you up. Like other than that, no one's to look or touch or do anything.
Hmm.
But it happens. I mean, I've since my kids were little, I've always tried to instill that because some stuff happened to me when I was a kid from a family member. And so from a young age, I've always tried to instill that in my kids that you don't let anyone touch you and you tell me if it happens. And I mean, we've had an experience where there was another little kid that was here at the house playing, and they actually told my son, touch my private area. And thankfully, there was an adult outside that heard it and was like, whoa, 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 no, like, we don't talk like that. We don't do that kind of stuff. But it's like, no matter how much you tell your child it, you can't really truly prepare them for those moments.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Riley. Did I cut you off?
No, not good.
Oh. And I think going along with what you're saying, the hard part about you know teaching your kids about these topics is giving them a healthy fear of what's out there
Mhm.
without completely destroying their
Sense of-
innocence and because it would be so easy to keep them inside all day and never let them go to school and never let them let the fear control like they're not going to go to public school, they're not going to go to this friend's house, they're not going to go to sleep over, and all these things, which maybe depending on the circumstances, probably some of them, maybe that's not the worst thing in the world. But I think keeping them as a child innocent and trusting and all these things, it goes contrary to teaching them about the world. And I think that's the hard, it's the hard and it's the dirty part of parenting that nobody, that I was never, that I never thought about. And it's hard,
you
and
have to find that balance
mhm,
of exposing them to what's out there in life.
yeah.
Like another hard thing that I have with my kids is the fact that their father died when they were so little. My daughter was 16 months old, and my son, I was still pregnant with him, so he never got to meet him. And he died from a drug overdose. He had been on and off drugs for our entire relationship. And now my daughter, my oldest, she's at the age where she's starting to ask those really hard questions of how did he die? And for all this time, I've told her, he just made bad choices.
Mm.
'Cause him and I had always had the discussion that we would never lie to our kids about our past because I'm a past addict myself. And so we always made that agreement that we would never lie to them because we want them to be able to know that there is that tendency or the possibility of them becoming addicted themselves. And we want to be able to prepare them and try to avoid them. Or, like you were saying earlier, keeping that healthy fear in them. And so I've always just told him, he made bad choices and those bad choices took his life. But now she's gotten to where she's like, well, what were those bad choices? How are those bad choices? Or she's remembering she's having these little memories of bad things that had happened in front of her, like physical altercations between him and I or stuff like that. And it's crazy like how much it really does affect them. And you have to trying to find that balance where it's like, how much do you expose to them at this age without taking away, without creating just that sadness or fear or, changing their outlook on life.
Mhm.
Because we've always tried to really, or at least I have, especially being a single mom, I've always tried to be very positive in raising them and keeping them in a positive outlook of life because I've been through so much and I had such a negative view on things for so long that I don't want them to have that habit. And so trying to balance keeping that positive outlook but exposing them to these hard realities of what's happened, it's hard. It's definitely a balancing act.
Yeah, yeah. No, I get it. It's tough, and I think the other thing too is every kid is different, and I think they all need different amounts of, I don't want to say fear, but you know what I mean, like
Mm-hmm.
of information about the world, because like our the one that went missing, he is just, he is the happiest, most positive little guy, and he's so trusting, but that scares the crap out of me because I worry like he would just walk off with some, and that's what I wonder. So he said he was just following the parade and gathering candy, which I don't doubt, but that was the question I had for him, was like, did somebody take you? And he
Yeah.
said no, but still, like, that was my worst fear, like that, that he was gone. And like Riley said, I haven't seen the movie yet, but I know the person it's based on, Tim Ballard. He, for years he has been, operating in these underground uh, trafficking rings. And it, like I said, I haven't seen the movie, but hearing some of his experiences, like on podcasts and such, it's such a terrible world, and it's such a terrible outlook for anybody who's caught up in that. And as a guy, and even guys, as Riley said, aren't immune from it. As a guy, I don't think we think about it as much, but for a young woman or a girl, it's got to be 10 times more terrifying. And like you said, I've seen those uh those shows where they'll make a fake account for like a 14-year-old girl or whatever, and just see, and it's like almost instantly, it's like their DMs will fill up. There's like 15 people instantly that will hit
Even
them up.
more
Yeah.
like it floods in and there's nonstop.
Yeah.
Well, Cal, I think you know what I'm thinking about.
Is this the transition I'm thinking of?
Yeah. So, um, yeah,
Do it. It's perfect.
EDP, EDP 445. A couple years ago, this guy, he was an internet personality. He would make like rage videos about the Eagles, like the football team, I think, and he, people thought he was funny. And then sometime in 2020, he got caught trying to meet up with a 13-year-old girl for a cupcake. At least that's what he said. But you know, the the guy who caught him, which side note was exposed for being a racist, but that's besides the point. The guy who caught him
Yeah.
recorded the whole thing. He got, like you guys were saying, there's strings of texts. EDP even sent like a picture of his shit. He sent other pictures, just gross stuff. And then we didn't hear from this guy EDP like for like over a year, I think. He deactivated everything. He was off the internet. There was all these rumors going around how he lost his apartment because doing YouTube was his job, so he lost all his income. He was living out of his car, all this stuff, and then he comes out of the blue, no, out of nowhere, like a year ago, and he just starts doing like live streams on these obscure platforms. And then he came back a few days ago with an apology video, of course, because that's what all these YouTubers do these days. We went over quite the apology video last weekend with Miss Colleen something with the ukulele. That was actually another child grooming thing, strangely enough. But yeah, so just what do you have to say about the apology video, Kyle?
You know, I don't. It's so funny to me. Not funny. It's ironic, I should say, of the concept of an apology video to start with.
Hmm.
Because, just the fact that you're making an apology video, you should be apologizing for something. But, he claims that still to this day, it was just a cupcake. He was just meeting up for a cupcake. And, even in this video, he still doesn't, and that's what kills me about all these videos. We still need to make a tier list of all the famous YouTuber apologies.
Yeah.
Um, that's for another time, obviously, but how much of it is just non-apology and it's just them talking and they hit that 8-minute mark for YouTube ads basically, and this was no different. And I looked in the comments of, I think it was a tweet, right, that I sent you. I was
Hmm.
looking at the comments and everybody was saying essentially the same thing as, oh, EDP's out of money again, he needs to come back to the internet to fill up his
Yeah.
bank account. Well, I just, these apologies, and and again, as a parent, when it comes to grooming, like, I'm sorry, there's no tolerance. Like, don't come back to the internet, stay off of it. I don't care what you do, I don't care where you go, just go. And don't come back on the internet, don't do all these things. And it just, I don't understand how he still has any platform whatsoever. Like, it's been verifiably proven that he was grooming a child. So I'm gonna get fired up on this one too. I get fired up on these videos, but it kills me. It blows me away. Like, why do you give these people a platform? That's all they want. And I don't know if a certain amount of it is the rage click we talked about last time.
Yeah.
The people that rage click on it to send an angry comment, but they thrive on it. And but yeah, so I don't know.
Yeah.
It was an apology. It was him just making money on whatever platform it was posted on. So
Hmm. Do you have any thoughts on that, Ali?
Well, I haven't seen the video, so I can't say anything on it specifically.
Hmm.
But, I mean, when it comes to child grooming, you can't really apologize for that. There is no apology for that because the damage that you do psychologically to the child in that process of sending those pictures and sending those types of explicit messages, you can't come back from that.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like you can unsend those messages and be like, oh, nope, they didn't see it or erase it from their mind.
Yeah. Hmm.
There. And the damage is done, and you can't apologize for that.
Hmm.
Like, from my own personal experience, I'm still dealing with symptoms and stuff from the trauma that I went through as a child for being sexually abused. The things that the person that I dealt with that they did, it affects you in so many ways that you don't really realize. And even now, it's been, gosh, 9 years since the last episode of it happening. And it's been, so that makes 7 years since we went to trial in court and all that. But there's still things that I'm like, will happen or I'll be triggered in. And I have to really sit back and think and be like, what is that from? And you go back and it's like, oh crap, that is because this person did this to me. And when you think about child groomers, especially now with how technology is and on being able to be online and talk, text, videos, messages, and stuff like that, the amount of kids that they're reaching, you can't tell how many people that they're damaging.
Hmm. Yeah. A few parts of like the video that I just don't understand. And sorry to like tramp over what you're saying, but like because I've been like thinking about the video and I like reacted to it last night on my live stream, and the thing that really stuck out to me is that he was like complaining about how his position in life is all messed up because of this, and that's not what people want to hear. Well, of course people want to hear that you're doing like shit after doing something like that, but they don't want to hear that in your supposed apology video about how bad you feel about what you did, and that's not what happened. And something else that annoys me is he would keep saying like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna seek help. I'm gonna do this," but nowhere is it. What is that help? What is your timeline? How are you going to do it? It's just a bunch of vague nonsense that he's trying to say to get on people's good side because he doesn't have an actual plan. So yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, like I said, I think he just, he will resurface on the internet every 3 or 4 years. He'll make a bunch of money from people clicking on his stuff because everybody knows him and everybody hates him. He's one of the most hated faces on the internet, I would say. And yeah, to go along with what Ali said, I don't think there is redemption for that. You know, I mean, maybe like, I don't know, like you were saying, Riley, he's saying, I'm going to go get help. I'm going to do all these things. What? Like the recidivism rate for pedophiles and pedophilia is like it's non-existent. Like you basically, to put that in simple terms, like you cannot get that out of people's systems. Like that's like it's a pretty ingrained tendency from what I understand from the research I've seen. But just, like I said, get them off the internet. And I don't understand people giving platforms to these people, like Colleen, whatever her name was,
I think it's
and
Ballinger,
her video was the same way. Basically, it was like, I'm sorry that people think that I did something wrong. I didn't. Maybe I said something inappropriate to a 12-year-old, but hey, it's the internet, and it's like that's not an excuse. That makes you a terrible person that you can't even understand why people are upset.
yeah. And to follow up with the Colleen stuff, there was like 2 or 3 videos that came out about her after we uploaded the last episode where she brings up this, I think it was like a 16-year-old girl up on stage while she's singing or something, and she has her on her back with her legs pointed up and just this weird stuff, and then she's doing blackface in another video. It's yeah.
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, and it's crazy too because not getting into politics or free speech issues or anything like that, but like you at some point you gotta get rid of these people, and I don't know how to do it. I don't know how it's done, but like I don't know.
Yeah.
It's I don't know.
If you do something like that, I think your podium should be removed from the internet. Like if you want to, I've heard this before when people talk about Alex Jones, like, he said all that stuff about what was it?
Sandy Hook.
Yeah, Sandy Hook, and they're like, take him off the internet because of what those families endured. But I don't care if he manages like a Sprint store or something, just take him off the internet. That's kind of how I feel about the whole like EDP thing. Like I don't really care what he does outside of it, as long, of course, as it's not what he did to get off to get kicked off. But just as long as it doesn't have like a platform on here, that's fine, whatever. But that's my opinion.
Yeah, it's hard to. Again, I don't want to get too down a political hole here or anything, but I think the worst thing you could do, that if you really wanted to destroy somebody, you would make them look like a predator. Like if you wanted to destroy someone's credibility, 100%. If that would be the worst thing you could do to somebody, would be to paint them as that person. And that's why we've talked about it recently the last few weeks. And I don't know if you're into games or not, Ali, but Call of Duty, they did some questionable stuff, and every video they post, every tweet they put out, people are calling them groomers and Call of Groomers and all this stuff. And it's hilarious at a point, but it's also it's really for the right reasons. It's a really damaging insult to hurl at someone.
Yeah, because even if it's proven to be false, like it's still a seed that's planted in someone's head, so it's always in the back of their head, and that possibility or thought.
He needs to just go away. He's a constant plague on humanity throughout the internet that he'll never go away, because he'll always find. I think he got kicked off of YouTube and all the main platforms, and then I think he came back on TikTok, and now there's Rumble and these other things that he will just continue to do his thing.
So that way I can get my paper done.
Okay.
So, but thanks for having me.
Yeah, sure.
See ya.
See ya. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye. Okay. So there was something that I was trying not to laugh about through all that serious talk there. Because I have
Did I make another oopsie?
no. No.
Another Michael Jackson comment or something?
No.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Side note, that Michael Jackson like short is still the most popular thing on our channel.
People thought it was hilarious. Just
So
laughing at an idiot.
no, okay. So the thing that I've been giggling at is the new Blue Beetle Burger King promotion, in quotes that people have been spreading around the internet. So Blue Beetle is the A-lister DC character that DC has dug out of their bin of characters that they always use. You know, Blue Beetle has been rebooted multiple times over the, over the past 50 years. So, of course, they had to reboot it yet again because Blue Beetle is DC's Spider-Man. I'm not being serious, but anyway, so people have been making memes about Blue Beetle Whopper coming to Burger King, and it looks disgusting. It looks like it could possibly give you cancer or something. Yeah, it's a Whopper, but the bun is looks like aluminum blue wrapped all around it. Uh, yeah, it looks quite disgusting.
It looks like you said, it looks like blue metallic something. You know, this burger looks like it's going to give you some type of cancer in the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
It looks so bad. Like I mean, I don't know how much like dyes actually people claim food dyes cause cancer and all that, you know, like everything causes cancer.
Hmm.
But like if anything in this world is going to do it, it's going to be the Blue Beetle Whopper because this thing is just blue.
Yeah. Yeah, and like the funny part is, of course, this is fake, but the crazier part is that Burger King has actually done other weird deals with like Into the Spider-Verse with like a red Whopper or the Black Halloween Whopper that just who knows what they put in it to dye it black, but anyway, uh yeah, there's some other ones. There's a blue waffle that looks very appetizing, obviously. The Blue Beetle McDonald's milkshake. There's another Blue Beetle Whopper that looks just beat to hell. And then my favorite one, and I'm gonna read it out here. So someone on Twitter named Neb's Good Takes. So you already know this is gonna be a god tier take that he has tweeted out.
Yep.
Just got this early limited edition hashtag Blue Beetle chicken sandwich from Burger King in the mail. Let's try this bad boy.
Can you read that last part again for me?
Okay.
I don't think I heard you correctly.
I'm gonna read it all over again, okay? Alright.
All right, that's fair.
Just got this early limited edition Blue Beetle chicken sandwich from Burger King in the mail. Let's try this bad boy.
Oh no. No. Why? I have questions and I need answers.
What are your questions?
First of all, I didn't. Is there a service that you can actually send food through the mail? I didn't know that. Second, I hope my man did not eat this, but I'm taking from his tweet that he actually did.
Oh man.
Like I don't know. I
Yeah. That was one of the funniest tweets I've ever seen. But so
Oh, here he is. I found Neb's good takes. I can't see any of his tweets though. Wow. Yeah, I mean I'm call me crazy, but I don't think you should be eating Whoppers sent to you through the mail. It only an influencer would do that too. Only an
Yeah.
influencer would be like, "Hey, I just got a blue Whopper in the mail. Let me open this baby up and eat some."
If we get 1 million likes, I'll do the Black Whopper from the mail.
Oh, that was another thing I was going to point out. I didn't know anything about the Black Whopper, and I don't know which one's worse.
Yeah.
Ah,
Man, okay. Well, that does not end the the bombardment of like troll Blue Beetle comments. One Twitter user named at DC Moments said 40 days before the premiere of Blue Beetle fans noticed a lack of marketing for the film and started posting a bunch of made-up merch, including a Blue Whopper and an album with Blackpink. A day later, the official Blue Beetle intern finally logged in, and then yeah, like the Blue Beetle account hasn't tweeted since June 8th, and then after people started doing all this troll stuff, they finally tweeted something. Let's see, when was this? Like today. So, yeah.
oh my gosh. Wait, so is that not a real tweet? Is that not real?
I don't know, man. That's
I'm confused now.
yeah, me too.
We've got to dig into the lore here and see if this thing is actually legit.
And then there's this other tweet. I just tried the Blue Beetle Whopper and it's a 10 out of 10. It comes with the Blue Beetle toy and it's really cool. Order at your local Burger King. And then it shows a picture of the Black Whopper for some reason and some random Blue Beetle toy.
Oh, I can't get over that. That's so funny. Wow. That's some good. I mean, you got to give it to him for the marketing though. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's almost on par with like the It's Morbin Time Morbius stuff.
Oh no. It's Morbin time.
Here's another one. If this is real, your bowel movements will look like you ate everyone in a Smurf village.
All right, so you've got the red Whopper, the blue Whopper, and the black Whopper. Which one you eating first?
Hmm. I would probably say. I would. Jeez. I would probably say. Probably the red one because of Spider-Man. Maybe we'd add some cherries or something. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, out of all of them, it, it looks the most edible.
Here's what the hell? Okay, here's another tweet. Today I tried the Blue Beetle Whopper and it didn't really give what the advertisement gave. I will say it's a lot more sweeter than expected. It's nice to see more comic book movie promotions with fast food chains these days. And this photo looks like they just even painted over the sesame seeds. Like all the sesame seeds are blue. The whole bun is blue. It's on a football plate. So there you go. Here's one saying, "Don't try the Blue Beetle Whopper," and it's them in an ambulance.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't even know if this is real anymore. Can we trust Neb's good takes? I don't know.
I don't know, man. Well, yeah, that's all I had for that. Good stuff. The Blue Beetle marketing campaign is off to a great start.
I mean, it's better than Call of Duty's has been lately.
Oh, yeah,
So-
for sure. Which, by the way, no Activision news this week.
This
So-
is a couch co-op first, and I think it
Yeah.
should be celebrated. I think
Yeah.
we've got to do something special.
Episode 10. Yeah. Oh, yeah, dude.
That means for 9 weeks in a row, we've had some new crap to talk about on Activision. That is wild.
Yeah, it is.
Literally every week it was something new.
Mm-hmm. That's just unfortunate. So yeah. Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff.
So not to get too off in the weeds here, but are you excited for Blue Beetle?
I am actually, yeah. Like you said last week, I am a fan of the actor. He's my like my favorite character from Cobra Kai. I thought that was a good show. I thought, yeah, so and like the suit looks amazing. So I have no idea about like the director or anything, but yeah, I think it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I hope it's a sign of better times ahead for DC fans.
Yeah, definitely. Jeez.
I am not gonna hold my breath though. So
Yeah, me either.
been too much hurt lately.
Yeah, definitely. So there was a brand new social media website that came out. It's I haven't even used it. I'm not going to because it's basically just Twitter, but like for babies, from what I've heard. Like like you're pretty much banned if you don't like conform to the Lizard King's
POS.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, so this is for all those who aren't aware, this is piggybacking off of last week. We talked about Elon Musk implemented some feature. Who knows why? Probably to get people to subscribe for $5 a month to be able to see more tweets. But you could only there was a rate limit of how many tweets you could view an hour, I think is what it was. And I mean, this had to have been happening for a while. I don't think this was the main like thing that caused Zuckerberg to go make his own Twitter. But yeah, this is kind of piggybacking off of last week. And from what I can see, I haven't signed up for it either. And from what I can see, I'm glad that I haven't, because I've seen some pretty concerning things with it outside of, like you said, it's a baby Twitter. Like I saw this funny meme. It was like, come over to Threads where we can argue about where all you can do is argue about which popsicle is best.
Yeah.
And from what I've seen, the thing about Twitter is it's basically a digital town square. Like it's where ideas are thrown out into the open, for good or bad. It's where ideas are thrown out into the open for people to view, to consume, to comment on. The idea of it was, you could talk to a politician, or you could talk to this actor, or you could at pretty much whoever you wanted to in the world. And maybe that's not always the best thing, but it was a thing, and it was, it's the best we've had for a long time. But yeah, so essentially, and there's actually some a potential lawsuit coming for Zuckerberg, because from what people are saying, it's pretty much a direct ripoff. Like it's almost like they just copy and pasted the code from Twitter over to Threads.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like anything that special. I have enough social media stuff. I don't know much about that lawsuit part, but I saw like Elon tweet like himself, like, yeah, that's not gonna fly. And he even called uh I'm not sure why, but he called Mark Zuckerberg Zuck the Cuck. So that was
I saw that.
that was kind of funny to see. And then Adam22, the host of the No Jumper podcast, he was like, "Is there a problem with that? Like, come on now, because it that's another thing." But
Yeah, we don't need to get into that here.
yeah,
Oh my gosh. What's wrong with that? But yeah, so basically, I mean, if anyone's out there, but the only thing I have seen that was like, oh yeah, that's kind of cool, is on Threads. There's a number on your profile that shows what number you were to sign up for Threads.
Mhm.
Like you could be numbered 10,000 or 50,000 or whatever. That's the only thing I've seen that's like, oh, that's an interesting idea that I don't think we've seen on social media.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
there's also some other memes going on around Zuckerberg, and it shows a timeline of him obtaining certain social medias, and it basically is just showing his timeline of like he stole Facebook in 2003 or whatever it was, and it just goes down these big things, and then it was like 2023 copies Twitter, makes Threads. 2025 copies Elon Musk's name, renames himself Elon Musk. I don't know if you've
Yeah.
seen that meme. It was kind of funny.
Flies
but-
to Mars. Yeah.
yeah. But it's basically a copy and paste Twitter where you can't actually talk about things. I know there's a bunch of people that have already been banned off of there because they disagree with Zuckerberg on a lot of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And sorry.
Nah, go ahead.
The other thing too is I think all these social media platforms basically do the same thing. Some might be a little more invasive, but I've seen people have posted some concerning data that Threads will gather from your device, and it's basically everything, like your purchase history, photos, everything.
Of course.
Which I don't think that's any different than any other platform at this point. So probably not that much different. But the only way you can delete Threads once you sign up for it is to delete your Instagram account.
Really?
Yeah. Which people
Wow.
are pissed off about because a bunch of people went and they signed up for Threads on their normal Instagram account,
Mm-hmm.
and then they don't want it for whatever reason, and they can't without deleting their Instagram account.
That's stupid. Yeah, I'm not surprised there's like a security risk with Threads because Mark Zuckerberg is behind that, and he was like relatively recently in court because Facebook was doing the same thing. So, yeah, I don't really trust much of anything in terms of like social media platforms that come out under him.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny to see, and out of all the billionaires in the world, it's funny to watch two of them basically mock each other and try to best each other,
Yeah.
one up each other.
Mm-hmm.
And we're still waiting to hear about the big fight.
Yeah.
So that'll be there's some bad blood now. We could actually get a decent fight.
Definitely. Yeah, it'll be more interesting now. The lore is building up.
Yeah.
So, while we're on the topic of Twitter, I saw this recently and I forgot to go over it with you, but everybody's favorite crypto scammer, sports drink guy, Logan Paul got engaged, I suppose. And then right after that, his company Prime is now being sued for having too much caffeine in it. I suppose like a bottle of Prime has like 6 times the amount of a can of Coke does in it. So, yeah, that's typical Logan Paul stuff. You know how it is, but
It's another Tuesday for Logan. I don't know. People always seem so surprised. I don't remember who it was, but it was a video of somebody talking about Logan Paul when the Crypto Zoo stuff happened.
was it
And they
CoffeeZilla?
sounded- Maybe it was CoffeeZilla, but I think they were commenting on that video. I don't remember whose video it was. Actually talking, but they were so surprised because it seemed like Logan had his redemption arc, and he had come back to the right side of the right side of things, and he'd stop scamming people, and he'd stopped exploiting 12-year-olds for their money and like all this stuff. And it's just like, really?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why we're surprised at this point.
Yeah, I think you're kind of foolish to believe like any of these influencers when they talk about anything. Like they're just same with like people in Hollywood. They're pretty much just walking billboards. Um, like I've only bought like merchandise from like two people ever on the internet, and those are like small creators. So it's I just wouldn't recommend buying anything from them. They're like snake oil salesmen. They're just I don't trust them. And
But wait, don't you want to be a maverick?
oh
Don't you want to be a badass maverick kid? Gotta buy the merch.
just
You
go
gotta
the
buy
Matrix.
Prime.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, but it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
I actually had heard Prime was pretty good, but I don't really. I mean, okay, so I guess I would say I've been surprised for how long they've gone without a scandal.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess CryptoZoo's in there, so you gotta. I mean, CryptoZoo's there, so that's something. But I mean, I wasn't gonna buy Prime anyways because I feel like it's overpriced. It's overpriced Gatorade.
Yeah.
But that's another thing that happened with him that I just recently saw. It just seems like once his name's out there, you hear a lot of stuff about him because there's so much controversy around the man himself. But
Mm-hmm.
he also supposedly isn't issuing any refunds for CryptoZoo. The millions of dollars, it's gone.
Yeah. Well, like from I. s- did I- Can you hear that? I think there's an ice cream truck outside.
Yeah, I was gonna say I want some ice cream.
So, yeah, I saw a video that CoffeeZilla made following up on his CryptoZoo series, and he basically said that like Logan Paul hasn't said anything, and this is 6 months after that whole thing kind of unfolded, and like Logan Paul is like dodging all of his calls, messages, whatever, and then like Logan's legal team is like, yeah, we're working on it. Kind of like the EDP apology. It's like super vague. There's no specifics, nothing, no dates, plans, nothing. And then Logan Paul is like bragging about how Prime made like $42 million in January. And so it doesn't make any sense. Of course, I'm sure he doesn't want to pay back any money really, but that's just it's yeah, not a good thing, not a good look.
Yeah, I just, it goes back to, it was one of the first episodes we did. We talked about streamer stands,
Yeah.
that people that log in, and I don't have a problem with anybody that watches XQC or Moist Critical or I don't know who are some of the other ones. There's a famous
Asmongold,
Asmongold. There's a famous one. He's known for being kind of
Hassan.
Hassan is another one. It's not the one I was thinking of. It's man. He's I don't even know. It's okay.
Uh-huh.
It's not important, but there's these Rice Gum. That's the one I was thinking of.
Oh,
Rice
okay,
Gum has
yeah.
some controversy too. And it just like it's not the same as EDP situation, but I just the amount of people that give money to these multimillionaires already, it just kills me. And you want to support, I get it. You want to support the streamer, you want to support what they're doing. You don't want the content to go away. But at some point, like, XQC has, I just saw, I don't know if it was real, I should have checked, but I think he just got like a $600,000 donation or something crazy like that.
Really?
I'll fact check that, but I think you get what I'm saying. Like you mentioned, like you've bought merch from a couple of smaller creators, and I have too. But at some point, the people keep supporting these these crummy people, and they keep getting ripped off, and they're surprised.
Yeah.
They're surprised that the guy who filmed the video of a dead person in a Japanese forest would also steal their money
Jeez, I still can't believe that happened.
and didn't have a problem doing it either. It was like, oh man, crazy. Like if you'll farm that for views, for money, you'll do anything. I'm convinced.
Yeah, definitely. There are no boundaries when you start filming dead people.
Mm.
A dead guy in the forest. Oh no, guys, let's go filming. Yeah,
Click on the video
yeah.
and buy my merch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so my main point, I think you get it, is like at some point we as the consumers or the little guys, I don't know how you want to say it, you know, the everyday man, you know, it comes from, you know, they have no job if people don't watch their stuff and consume their content and buy their crap, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, people are just, I don't know. I feel like there's a certain level of people just not caring about the controversy of the past, and they still watch they still support the person, which is crazy to me, but
Yeah.
which is, you know, whatever. You can do whatever you want with your time and your money, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I saw that the reason why Ricegum was on my radar is because I saw that he just signed an exclusive deal with Rumble to go over there for, I don't know, it was millions of dollars. But then Aiden Ross supposedly is leaving Kick to go over to Rumble because he wants to be with Ricegum.
Yeah. I could see like, dude, Aiden Ross, man, that's a whole other like can of worms, dude. He's just a gun that just gets left on the floor with no safety, nothing, fully loaded. It's, dude, he's just a stray bullet.
So here's what I want to know about him. And he wasn't on my radar at all before the Andrew Tate stuff happened, and Andrew Tate kind of had him on, you know,
Mm-hmm.
mentored him, if you will. Do you know, has he always been kind of the same way? Because my perception is he was a semi-popular person. He was okay, you know, a little edgy, and then he met up with Andrew Tate, and then he just, from what he learned from Andrew Tate, it was, you just, doesn't matter whose feelings you hurt, you diss on everyone, you hate everything, and you get all the money. Is kind of how it seems his personality is.
Well, I wasn't really following him before either. But I've like listened to him on some of his podcasts with Andrew Tate, and he's just so annoying. He, I hate to compare him, but he kind of reminds me of Maul in the slightest way. He kind of has that kind of like same like naive kind of nature, I suppose. But like when he was talking with Andrew Tate after Andrew and his brother got out of the Romanian prison, he just like his life just like fell apart after Andrew got put in prison. And then when he got out, Andrew was like, "What happened to you? You're fat, you're on lean, you're not working out, no car, no girl, what's going on?" And he's just like a guy who likes to talk a lot of shit.
Yeah.
That's all I see him as, and yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. See, and that's, you know, he's another one. I'm just talking crap on everyone right now, but you know, he's another one. Like, I don't understand certain personalities and how they get to be so big. You know, I get the Andrew Tate stuff. There's a lot of you know, there's a lot of young men that are looking for a role model, and you know, Andrew Tate, he's got the cars, he's got the girl, you know. I understand that, but the Aiden Ross one just kills me because he, like you said, he fell apart when his role model went to jail, and he just, you know, he's not really doing much.
Yeah. Huh.
I don't know. I don't know enough about it to really say, but
Me neither. So what is your opinion on Andrew Tate? Because I think that like some of he's like Alex Jones in a way. Some of the things that he says are like truthful, and a lot of people think what he does. But then he says something like, I don't know, like women are property, or or like, you know, we live in the Matrix, and the Matrix is attacking me. You know, like all this weird stuff.
like he is player one. Like,
Yeah.
he's the guy. The guy. So here's my take on it. Like, and like I was kind of saying, there is a place for someone like Alex Jones and Andrew Tate in our culture, because I would say that, you know, there's not a lot of really good male role models to look up to, you know, and I think that's where a lot of it comes from is there's so much on the internet about, you know, I'm trying to think of the right way to say it. There's so much out there about, you know, I would say demasculating stuff. Like, you know, it's not okay to fight and like do all this stuff, and you know, which I don't think it is. You know, it's not okay just to punch someone in the face. But then someone like Andrew Tate comes along, or Alex Jones, or I mean, I don't think Alex Jones is really the same, but someone like Andrew Tate comes along and he's like, it's okay to be masculine. You know, it's okay to have a six pack. It's okay to have a nice car. It's okay to, and I'm gonna, and not only is it okay to do that, I'm gonna lead you there, brethren. We're gonna, you know, we're gonna all have these nice cars and these girls, and so I get the male role model aspect of it. You know, the alpha. You know, the young guys. You know, the younger men, the boys, whatever you want to call them. They always are looking for an alpha, and I think that's just the way our brains are wired. You know, I think that's, you know, it's our cult, it's our tendency as humans to, you know, there's the alpha male that you always want to be looking for. But on the flip side of that, you know, he has said some really terrible things, and he is, you know, being accused of some really terrible things. You know, he was in a Romanian prison for like 6 months, 8 months. I don't even know how long it was, a long time. And he's been accused of some really terrible things. And so my take on it is you can say truthful things, like it's okay to be a man, it's okay to take care of your family, and it's okay to want to be strong and masculine and all these things in a culture that, you know, kind of tells you otherwise, like toxic masculinity and, you know, all these things are on the rise, when really, I mean, what is toxic masculinity? Like, what about toxic femininity, you know? And we're not going to get into that discussion, but
Yeah.
I think you get what I'm saying. Like, there is the part of Andrew Tate that I think is a positive role model for being a good man and taking care of your family, but there's also like so much out of left field that he said, like, you know, women are property, and he has, you know, really bad charges levied against him in different countries about abusing women and some of the stuff he said. So
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's, to say it, I guess, to summarize my point, because I'm rambling at this point, you know, even like really terrible people who are accused of really terrible things can say somewhat truthful things that like help people understand themselves and like what they're looking for. And yeah, I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah. One thing that I like to think of in terms of that is just because you agree with one thing that someone says doesn't mean that you take in all their thoughts and ideals and their principles, everything. Like you don't have to like agree with Alex Jones on the frogs being gay and also think that Sandy Hook was like a staged set up like left wing thing. Like it's you you can like separate, so to speak, the art from the artist. That's kind of how I think about it. Yeah, I think I would say that most of the things that Andrew Tate says is good for men because, like you say, it's, you know, men aren't, well, yeah, somewhat like, in my opinion, men are kind of like falling out of what men used to be and not really in the roles that they used to be. And it's nice to have that kind of voice of reason, but it's also kind of scary on the flip side that because of that voice of reason, it seems like he's getting kicked off of everything. Like when he was just booted off of literally everything, like not even just like social media platforms, but literally like his bank, Uber of all things, he was kicked out of because of like his manly way of living. But and then of course there was the whole women are property thing and just all this like weird stuff that he brought along with it. So yeah, that's what I think about him.
yeah, and going along with what you're saying, you know, I think that our culture, you know, our culture is so divided, whether you want to talk politics or like even Call of Duty, like the Olympia versus the M14, you know, that's a silly example, but you know what I'm talking about. And, you know, because our culture is so divided and it's so tribalistic, you know, I feel like people feel like they have to support 100% of what a person's saying if they support 1%.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because they agree with the way that Andrew Tate carries himself as a man, or makes me feel like I can actually be a man, and and all this stuff, because he's a positive male role model in some aspects. The tip side of that is, I think some people, not all, hopefully, fall into supporting him for everything. Like, oh, Andrew Tate did nothing wrong, which it hasn't been proven that he has. I'm not saying that, but
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's part of the problem with our culture, and the way, and I would say really the internet, because I feel like before the internet there was a lot more nuance takes on all this stuff. But you can post one video to the internet and go viral, and it could be either a really good thing or it could be a really bad thing. It could be a really bad take, and you're internet famous, and then you're, like I said before, if you really want to destroy somebody's reputation and get them kicked off the internet, accuse them of doing really bad things to women or children, or to just really bad things in general. And I kind of feel like that's where Andrew Tate's at, is whether he did it or not, I'm not saying, but he's at that point where media's kicking him off, YouTube's kicking him off, all these things are kicking him off, and to the disillusioned few that follow him, I think that seems like an attack on them, and then they feel like they have to revolt or whatever, when in reality it's like, maybe he did some terrible things, but you agree with some of the things he said. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
oh, no, I was just gonna say, yeah, I don't know, I haven't actually heard. I didn't really follow him closely. I would see clips of Andrew Tate, but I haven't heard anything new on him in a while. I think that they finally accused him with actually the crimes that they were, but I don't know. So
Yeah,
sorry, that was kind of last part of that. But
gotcha. Is there anything else that you wanted to cover for this week?
I don't think so. I think we hit them all.
All right.
Yeah, it was a awesome episode.
Oh yeah, yeah. All right.
Yeah,
well,
huge thanks to Allie for coming on.
sure. Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah. Nice to get a different perspective than like our typical gamer friends. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah. Thanks for all the support, guys, on the later episodes. It means a lot. Yeah. Big Ten will only keep going from here. So
Yep.
thanks for watching.
All right. See ya.